The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Monday, February 24, 2020, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Sunday, February 23, 2020 was read and approved. On motion, Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly. The Secretary will read.
Senator Martinez moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigation and Government Operations Assembly Bill number 7331, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6172, third reading calendar 410.
Substitution so ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Reports of select committees. Communications and reports from state officers. Motions and resolutions. Senator Janaris.
Mr. President, on behalf of Senator Carlucci, on page 6, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 52, Senate Print 1146, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendment is received and the bill shall retain its place on the third reading calendar.
On behalf of Senator Skoufis, on page 24, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 396, Senate Print 7300A, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendment is received and the bill shall retain its place on the third reading calendar.
I now move to adopt the resolution calendar with the exception of Resolution 2848.
All in favor of adopting the resolution calendar with the exception of Resolution 2848, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution calendar is adopted. Senator Janaris.
Can you at this time recognize Senator Kaplan for an introduction, please?
Senator Kaplan for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my great privilege this afternoon to welcome several distinguished guests to the Senate chamber from the Henry Biscardi School, which is located in my district. And it serves young people from across the region. Joining us today, we have Joseph Salnakia, Andrew Chirico, Paul Navarro Jr., Paul Navarro Sr., and also Angelo Zagarali. The Biscardi School offers children and young adults with severe disabilities a traditional education setting that provides rigorous academics and an opportunity for personal growth and leadership development. It is a specialized, accessible educational setting which provides a fully enriched academic program, a variety of therapies, assistive technology, and medical supports to students who may otherwise need to receive instructions in their homes or at a hospital setting. I've been privileged to tour the Biscardi School and meet with students, teachers, and even their dog, Sunny, on numerous occasions. And they've always been a source of immense inspiration to me, not only for their incredible individual achievements, but also for their warm, embracing spirit of community that they have created at the school. Mr. President, I ask you to please extend the courtesy and honor of the chamber to these wonderful special guests today.
To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all of the privileges and courtesies of this House. Let us rise and recognize our guests. Senator Janaris.
Can we now recognize Senator Little for another introduction?
Senator Little for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor today to introduce some students who are visiting here from Clinton Franklin BOCES program, and they are part of the New Visions program that BOCES has studying government. So they have an interest in government. They have been looking and visiting the court system, the sheriffs, the police, everything that has to do local government as well as county government. And today they're here visiting us in state government. So with them is Tracy Warren, who is the director of their program and has been doing this for a number of years. And I thank Tracy for all of her efforts and thank the students for coming. But really, I thank you for your interest in government. It's obviously, we're all interested in government here and glad to see that young people are looking at it as a possible career for them as well. So, Mr. President, I present them.
To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all of the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Janaris.
Can we now take up previously adopted Resolution 2557 by Senator Rivera, read its title only, and recognize Senator Rivera?
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2557 by Senator Rivera, memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim March 2nd through 8th, 2020 as Eating Disorder Awareness Week in the state of New York.
Senator Rivera on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. As was read, this resolution, which was previously adopted, is to recognize that we have Eating Disorder Awareness Week. Now, the theme this year is "Come as You Are." Hindsight is 2020. The fact is that we need to talk about the message of this year's week of eating disorder awareness is to make sure that we take self-acceptance and acceptance of others and keep it as a core value. The fact is that there is a lot of stigma for individuals that are suffering from eating disorders, and there's a lot of work that we still need to do, not only legislatively, but in the area of stigma to make sure that we eliminate it. And there's one person that in particular that I'd like to point out, and I know that some of my colleagues might be referring to this lady earlier. That is a lady by the name of Caitlin Penner. Now, Ms. Penner, much like our colleague Peter Harcum, who very courageously just a few weeks ago spoke about his struggles with alcoholism, in her case, she has publicly talked about her struggles with eating disorders. And it has been her work which actually has led to a piece of legislation that I know that my colleague, Senator Holman, will speak about. And it's precisely this type of thing which we need to underline when we have young people or people of all types that bring ideas to us, talk about the struggles that they face and things that we need to do in the state to make sure that we change their condition for the better. We want to make sure that we do what we can in the state to change those conditions. So, so today, again, we are speaking about Eating Disorder Awareness Week. We will be doing some legislation on this issue as well, but for the moment, I just want to recognize not only that we have individuals all across the state and the country that have this issue, but that we can fight stigma, we can change legislation to make their lives better, and we can recognize particularly those that bring ideas to us that then can turn into legislative issues and solutions for the state of New York. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Hoylman on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to thank Senator Rivera for this resolution. As he mentioned, I carry a bill, S7094, with Senator Salazar and Assemblymember Yuleen New, that would require schools to provide age-appropriate instruction on the prevention of eating disorders to all students in grades 6 through 12. We introduced this bill together, Senator Salazar and I, thanks to the advocacy of Caitlin Penner, as Senator Rivera mentioned. She's a member of the Zoomers Caucus. I don't know if you know what a Zoomer is. I didn't until I met Caitlin, but it's anyone who was born in the late 90s and early 2000s, some of whom probably serve in this chamber, which is kind of hard to believe, but a remarkable thing. And it's a remarkable thing that young New Yorkers are getting involved in actually drafting important legislation like this that will make an enormous difference to school-age children across the state of New York. So thank you, Senator Rivera. Thank you, Caitlin Penner, and let's make certain that we stamp out the affliction of eating disorders for all young people. Thank you.
Senator Carlucci on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the sponsors of the legislation just talked about and thank Senator Rivera for putting this important resolution forward. Unfortunately, in the United States, we know over 30 million Americans are living with a serious eating disorder. And unfortunately, the majority of Americans living with an eating disorder will never be diagnosed and will never get treatment. Even though treatment and services and resources exist, there's still a major stigma that faces mental health and eating disorders. Unfortunately, we know that the eating disorders, particularly anorexia, is the leading cause of mortality of any mental health issue. In fact, unfortunately, 23 people on average die every day in the United States directly related to an eating disorder. That's why it's so important that we raise awareness, we make sure that we talk about this, but we also have to have policies in place that will help people that are living with eating disorders. I had the good fortune of meeting a young girl from Briarcliff who had experienced an eating disorder. Unfortunately, she was living with it probably from the time as young as 8 years old and wasn't diagnosed until she was 15. She underwent treatment and is in recovery and getting the help that she needs, but she's spoken out about the need to make sure that our pediatricians understand and screen our young people for eating disorders. We know if you're diagnosed at a young age, or if you're diagnosed at any age, and you know what the problem is, that you can get the help and recover and live an independent, productive life. So this is a serious issue. It's important that we address it here in this chamber. We have to recognize Eating Disorder Week and make sure that we end the stigma, but we must go further to have policies in place to make sure that anyone that is experiencing it gets the help and treatment they need. This is also about parity, to make sure that someone that is experiencing an eating disorder gets the treatment and that insurance can't deny them for seeking that coverage and that treatment. So, Mr. President, I thank my colleagues for supporting this resolution, and I'll be supporting it as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
The resolution was previously adopted on January 22nd. Senator Janaris.
We take up, actually, at the request of the sponsor, the resolution we just took up is open for co-sponsorship, Mr. President.
The resolution is open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Janaris.
Can we now take up the reading of the calendar, please?
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 54, Senate Print 3057 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the Volunteer Firefighters Benefit Law and the Volunteer Ambulance Workers Benefit Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately. Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Should I just say now? Yeah, just say it. Calendar number 52 was high and is laid aside for the day. So we are on calendar 54. Announce the results.
Ayes 57.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 142, Senate Print 2719 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the Civil Practice Law and Rules.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 167, Senate Print 5421A by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the Workers' Compensation Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act will take effect on the 30th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas. Jacobs, Orton.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 167, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ort, Lanza, and Jacobs. Ayes 54, nays 3.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 326, Senate Print 2861 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Public Service Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect on the 180th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 326, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Funky, Gallivan, Helming, Jacobs, Jordan, Ort, O'Mara, Randenhofer, Sereno, and Seward. Ayes 45, nays 12.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 366, Senate Print 7639 by Senator Addabbo, an act to amend the Racing, Parimutuel Wagering, and Breeding Law.
Read the last section.
Section 166 is act to take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 366, voted in the negative, Senator Laval. Ayes 56, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 410, Assembly number 7331 by Assemblymember DeLon, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Senator Mayer to explain her vote.
Mr. President, I will be voting yes on this bill, and this is an important step forward. But I would hope that the Division of Human Rights, this is a program bill of theirs, can issue some guidance, because in multi-tenant buildings like co-ops and rentals, having a pet that provides some kind of meets a need of a tenant frequently may conflict with another tenant, and I had such an example in my district. And there's very little guidance to say that a pet that is necessary for someone's emotional health might not be a challenge to another person's emotional health, and that's what happened. And I think I would ask the Division of Human Rights to recognize and administratively to make some guidance so that this balancing of interests, which is essential for those of us who live next to each other in apartment houses or in rentals or in co-ops, find a way to live together in peace, and that this is not a sort of one-size-fits-all. So I'll be voting yes, but again, I urge the division to address the inherent conflicts in multi-unit buildings that occur when animals may be present. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mayer to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 410, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Jacobs, Jordan, Lanza, Ort, O'Mara, Ranzenhofer, and Seward. Ayes 50, nays 9.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 413, Senate Print 4142 by Senator Savino, an act to amend the state technology law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 414, Senate Print 6037A by Senator Savino, an act to amend the economic development law in relation to the development and creation of distributed ledger technology and business entities.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 437, Senate Print 3654 by Senator Salazar, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 437, voted in the negative, Senator Flanagan. Ayes 58, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Janoris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
President, can we return to motions and resolutions for a moment and take up Resolution 2848 by Senator May, read its title only, and recognize Senator May.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2848 by Senator May, honoring Deborah Carey for her outstanding advocacy, education, and fundraising efforts for lymphedema awareness.
Senator May on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lymphedema is a disease of the lymphatic system that affects 10 million Americans and up to 250 million people worldwide. You can be born with it, but more commonly it occurs as a result of treatment for cancer, breast cancer in particular. Sadly, it is a little known disease, or it is it's something often that could be preventable, but doctors either don't know how or don't bother to do that. And so the Lymphatic Education and Research Network is doing very important work to raise awareness about this, and their great champion is Deborah Carey, who is with us today. We are honoring her for her exceptional activism, education, and service in raising awareness and fundraising for lymphedema, research and education. In 2017, Deborah was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she reached out to Lymphatic Education and Research Network, or LEARN, for guidance in helping to prevent lymphedema from developing in herself as a side effect of her cancer and treatment. But then after that was successful, she started reaching out to help other people get this kind of treatment. She was able to receive cutting-edge surgery from world-renowned Memorial Sloan Kettering surgeon Dr. Joseph Dayan to treat her cancer and mitigate her chances of developing lymphedema. And she's remained fervently active in fundraising and awareness since 2013, alongside her husband. The organization LEARN, that they work so hard to promote, has revealed a barrier to lymphedema being a nationwide priority, in that it has such a low profile among medical practitioners, and in medical schools it isn't studied. And so they are working to make sure that that changes. After Deborah's 2017 breast cancer diagnosis, her successful surgery, together with the leadership of LEARN, her motivation and unrelenting commitment as she remains active in volunteering in an upstate New York hospital, continue to support the fight avidly. And she is an incomparable role model to those who have undergone lymphatic diseases and lymphedema. And she's joined here by her husband, Jim, by Colleen McGuire, the Chief Operating Officer of LEARN, and William Rapici, the President of LEARN, and also Emma Detlefson, who is a youth ambassador about lymphedema, and an amazing young person who is bringing her energy and awareness to this cause. So I ask you to recognize our guests in the gallery, please. Thank you.
To Deborah, your family, and to the team from LEARN, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all of the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise, all of you, and be recognized. Senator Jannars.
Senator May would like to open that resolution for co-sponsorship.
Sorry, Senator. The question is on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted. Senator Jannars.
Can you now please open that resolution for co-sponsorship?
The resolution is open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Jannars.
Can we now take up the reading of the controversial calendar?
The Secretary will ring the bell. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 142, Senate Print 2719 by Senator Krueger, an act to amend the civil practice law and rules.
Senator Griffo, why do you rise?
Mr. President, I believe that there is an amendment at the desk. I would waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Ort.
Thank you, Senator Griffo. Upon review of the amendment, in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
And accordingly, I would appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that Senator Ort be heard on the appeal of the amendment.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Ort may be heard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I feel this amendment is germane, otherwise I wouldn't have had it brought up. But the reality is this deals with clerks, and we know from the bill that was passed through this chamber last year, affectionately known as the Green Light Law, which is driver's licenses for illegal immigrants, that had an impact on the clerks, who obviously are responsible for overseeing the DMVs in the state. But more importantly, not only are county clerks being impacted, what we learned yesterday from a briefing from the Department of Homeland Security, from Customs and Border Protection, and from our ICE, special agent from ICE, is that this law has had very real and negative public safety impacts on New Yorkers who work for those agencies, who wake up every morning of all political stripes, and who simply go to work and try to do the job they were hired to do and enforce federal immigration laws, which this law specifically makes more difficult and in some cases almost outright prohibits. It also not only impairs those agents, but it also impairs New Yorkers, who those agents are tasked with protecting. My district has 3 international border crossings with Canada. The volume of traffic that comes through there every day is very significant. In fact, it's the largest border as far as goods and services and traffic coming across anywhere in the world. And the reality is, what we've seen with this, by not allowing CBP and DHS and ICE to share in that database, the DMV database, which goes further than any other law of this kind in the country, it has put these agents at risk. It has put New Yorkers at risk. And remember, this was originally done by Governor Pataki as part of an executive order after 9/11. This is a pre-9/11 mindset in a post-9/11 world. And on this floor, when that was raised, the sponsor of this legislation, which is now law, took a lot of heart in the fact that we would be able to identify perpetrators of future 9/11s, but we wouldn't be able to stop them. And so, going even further, when you look at what has happened now with the federal government responding by suspending New Yorkers' access to Trusted Traveler, Nexus, Global Entry, that impacts about 80,000 New Yorkers today, Mr. President. But it is estimated by the federal government that within 5 years, it could move up to around 800,000 New Yorkers who will be negatively impacted because they will not have access to Nexus and Global Traveler programs, global access programs. Now, why would the federal government do that? Some would have us believe it was a political vendetta. The truth is, it was no more of a political vendetta than this legislation itself. This was a direct response, which was warned about on this floor. The federal government would take measures to mitigate risk because we've left them blind with their lack of access to information. Information, which I may add, includes sharing information with DHS, who's involved with counterterrorism. They no longer have access to this information. People who investigate human traffickers no longer have access to this database. So we're not just talking about somebody who's going into an orchard and picking up folks who have violated our federal immigration law, which is still a violation and a crime, but also going after people who are involved in drug smuggling, human trafficking. All of those reasons, we have left New Yorkers less safe, and now we have negatively impacted Western New York's economy and New York State's economy, because there are a number of business travelers for economic reasons who are part of these programs, who now, this will impact goods and services going across the border. That has a negative impact economically, and it impacts business owners and taxpayers and law-abiding everyday New Yorkers and American citizens at the expense of those who have violated our immigration laws. So, Mr. President, I would ask you to reconsider, and I would ask my colleagues across the aisle, especially those who voted against this legislation last year, to stand with me and my colleagues on this side of the aisle in supporting this amendment to repeal this dangerous and flawed policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Ort. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye. A show of hands has been requested and so ordered.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Janoris, Kruger, Stewart, Cousins, Thomas.
Announce the results. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 142, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Amador, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jacobs, Jordan, Little, Ort, Randenhofer, and Seward. Ayes 49, nays 11.
The bill is passed. Senator Janoris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There's no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, February 26th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, February 26th at 3 p.m.